Hello, look, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so I can see the class is now at quorum, and we are about to start our class. So before we begin the class, I would like all of you to abide by the rules of online classes, and that is, you should make sure that all of you, your microphones are off, and you put them on only when you want to speak. This is to avoid the commotion during the process. So this is another lesson of PLC programming, and the trainer is Mr. Moni Hamis. So in our previous class, we looked at the introduction to PLC systems. So we looked at the architect. We looked at the history of PLCs and how they came about into the technological era. So today we'll be looking at various issues. So by the end of the lesson, I expect you to have learned the following. You should be able to state the differences between, you should be able to state the different parts of a PLC system. You should be able to explain the different parts of a PLC system. And you should be able to outline the different input-output PLC configurations. So to begin with, I'm going to share a presentation. So before I continue, I'd like you to confirm if you can see the screen. Mr. Luke and your colleagues. I can see Mr. Shem Nakaba has joined.
Thank you.
I've just shared the screen. Can you see the screen?
Okay, thank you.
I've just shared your screen. Can you see the screen?
Okay.
Yes, the screen is visible.
Look.
Yeah, we can be able to see the screen.
Okay, good. Perfect. So first, let us look at the different parts of a PLC system. Okay, as we said last time, a PLC system is composed of various parts because it is an interconnection of different systems to make it a whole system. So as you can see in the picture, the PLC has got around 5 different components or subsystems. To begin with, we have got the power supply. As you can see in the yellow box on the top, that is a power supply. And then on the right side of the document, there is the output module. And then on the left, we have the input module. Another part of the PLC system is the central processing unit. We have memory, and the memory is divided into two, as you can see in the diagram. We've got the program memory and the data memory. And then finally, we have got the programming device. So basically, these are the parts of a PLC system. So let us look at the various parts of the system in details. So a PLC normally has got an input-output section, as you can see in the slide. So the input-output section is made up of 2 modules. We've got the input module, and we have the output module. So basically, that is the input-output section of the PLC. consisting of the input module and the output module. Then we said we have a power supply. So what is the work of a power supply in a PLC? So a power supply supplies DC voltage to other modules that plug into the rack, because the PLC has got various subsystems and each system has to be powered. So the power supply normally powers the different subsystems. Another part of the PLC is the processor. The processor is normally the brain of the PLC, because this is where all the logic and arithmetics and all the communications with the module take place. So basically, the processor is the brain, and it is the masterpiece of the PLC. After the processor, we normally have a programming device. For the PLC to implement whatever function it is doing, normally it has to be programmed. A software has to be programmed in the PLC to enable it to perform a specific functions, because basically PLCs normally implement different functions depending on the setup of the system. So for the program or for the PLC to do the functionality, it has to be programmed. So a program is input into the PLC using the programming device. And in most cases, a personal computer or a PC is the most commonly used programming devices, but it is not limited to the PC. We have got other programming devices which can also be used. So the other device which can be used is the handheld unit. So in some cases, we normally have handheld units, which normally have displays. So these are just small gadgets and they're portable. So these can also be used like the PC. And the advantages of these handheld units are they're portable and you can move about with them, not like the PC. So the handheld is also a programming device. So after those are the parts of the PLC system. Now let's look at the configurations which exists, or the configurations which can be done on a PLC systems. Basically, we've got two main configurations, as you will see. We've got the fixed input-output configuration, and we've got the modular input-output configuration. So what does these two configurations mean? The two configurations have got difference. The main difference is that for the fixed input-output configuration, we have got one module, and both the input and the output modules have been interfaced together. So they come as a package. This is the fixed input-output configuration. It is typically a small PLC, comes in one package with no separate removable units. The inputs and outputs are both packaged together. This is a low-cost PLC, but it lacks flexibility. The second configuration is the modular. The modular input-output, this is whereby the PLC is subdivided into compartments or modules. As you can see in the picture, we have the input module, which can be plugged separately. You've got the module, which can be separately. And then we have got the processor.
So it's kind of 360 as in is an entire saga. You get from your superior, the juniors, everybody.
Who is that?
Can give you that.
Somebody is disturbing the glass and I will remove him. Yes, good. So the modular configuration is divided into modules. So we've got several modules which are put together to form a complete system. So we have the input module, the output module, and then the power supply modules. So these are modules just brought together to make a complete system. So this feature greatly increases your options and the unit's flexibility. You can choose from all the modules available and mix them in any way you desire. So it gives the system a flexibility. So for most advanced systems, they normally use the modular configurations so as to enable for flexibility of the systems. So basically, that brings us to the end of our session today. So we've looked at the parts of the PLC. We've looked at the functions of the parts, and then we have looked at the configurations. So unless you have got any other question, I'd like to know if we are all on the same page. Mr. Luke?
Hello?
I hope we are in the same page.
Yes, we are, but I have a question.
Yes, please.
Maybe for someone who may want to know what is PLC in full.
Okay, very good. That's a good question, but we looked at that in the previous session. We said that PLC stands for Programmable Logic Controllers. And we also gave a brief history about PLCs. So basically it is a system or a system which is used to program and automate systems. And because this is just an introduction of the topic, in the coming lessons, you'll have greater details of the PLCs. And at the end of the unit, you'll be able to program and do some simple exercises. So I hope you will be present in all the sessions. Any other question?
Thank you.
Mr. Shimyakaba?
Yes, Mr. Hamisi. Thank you for the short session. I really appreciate. And I believe maybe next time we will learn more from what you've taught us today.
Okay, so before we do the finishing the program, I'd like to give an overview of the whole system, of the whole session. So we looked at the parts of the PLC. We looked at the explanations of the functions of the different parts, and we looked at the input-output configurations. So I have an assignment for you guys, as you can see in the last slide, and the assignment is state and explain 3 programming languages used in PLC programming. I expect you to hand in the assignment in our next session so that we can start another session for PLC programming. So I'd like to thank you all for your time, and I hope you'll have a wonderful weekend. So let us meet next week.
Thank you.